Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 30, Text 44. Atha niryaya salilat Prachitas udanvatah Vikshya kupyandrumais channam Gam gam rodhumivochritai. Atha, thereafter, niryaya, after coming out, salilat, from the water, prachetasaha, all the prachitas, udanvataha, of the sea, vikshya, having observed, akupyan, became very angry, drumai, by trees, channam, covered, gam, the world, gam, the heavenly planets, rodhum, to obstruct, iva, as if, uchritai, very tall. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. Thereafter all the prachitas emerged from the waters of the sea. They then saw that all the trees on land had grown very tall, as if to obstruct the path to the heavenly planets. These trees had covered the entire surface of the world. At this time the prachitas became very angry. Please repeat. Thereafter, all the prachitas emerged from the waters of the sea. They then saw that all the trees on land had grown very tall, as if to obstruct the path to the heavenly planets. These trees had covered the entire surface of the world. At this time, the prachitas became very angry. Purport. King Prachina Barhishat left his kingdom before his sons arrived after their execution of penance and austerity. The sons, the Prachitas, were ordered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead to come out of the water and go to the kingdom of their father in order to take care of that kingdom. However, when they came out, they saw that everything had been neglected due to the king's absence. They first observed that food grains were not being produced and that there were no agricultural activities. Indeed, the surface of the world was practically covered by very tall trees. It seemed as though the trees were determined to stop people from going into outer space to reach the heavenly kingdoms. The Prachitas became very angry when they saw the surface of the globe covered in this way. They desired that the land be cleared for crops. It is not a fact that jungles and trees attract clouds and rain, because we find rainfall over the sea. Human beings can inhabit any place on the surface of the earth by clearing jungles and converting land for agricultural purposes. People can keep cows and all economic problems can be solved in that way. One need only work to produce grains and take care of the cows. The wood found in the jungles may be used for constructing cottages. In this way, the economic problem of humanity can be solved. At the present moment, there are many vacant lands throughout the world, and if they are properly utilized, there will be no scarcity of food. As far as rain is concerned, it is the performance of yajna that attracts rain. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 3.14, Annad bhavanti bhutani parjanyadanna sambhavaha yajñād bhavati parjanyo yajñah karma samudbhavaha. All living bodies subsist on food grains, which are produced from rains. Rains are produced by performance of yajna or sacrifice, and yajna is born of prescribed duties. By performing sacrifice, man will have sufficient rainfall and crops. Om ajnanatimmirandhasya jnananjanasalakaya चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतः पदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्णकरुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तु ते तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. So, after having taken darshan of the Lord, the Prachitas, who are the 10 sons of Prachinabarhi, they were actually doing this meditation on the Supreme Lord, and they were doing it in the depths of the ocean. So, modern man, he does not know how one can live in the depths of the ocean. The way they do it is through maybe a device like a submarine for a while. But the Prachitas were meditating on the Lord in the depths of the ocean for 10,000 years. And lifetime was very long during those days. Human life was lasting about 100,000 years. That is Satya Yuga. In Treta Yuga, humans live for 10,000 years. In the Dvapara Yuga, they live for 1,000, and in Kali Yuga, in this present age, they live only for 100 years at the max, and mostly they don't even make it that far. So, they did have that advantage of a long life. And King Prachinabarhi, if you remember, he left this world. I mean, not left this world. He left his kingly duties. He was the king of the whole planet. And this is the 30th chapter. In the 29th chapter, 81st verse, it is explained that he left this kingly duties. It's not that he was staying as a king until the end of his life, like what modern politicians do. They don't want to give up such status, and they want to extract as much money as possible until they die, and they cannot even take that money away when they go away. So in this way, present society is a society of the cheaters and the cheated. But King Prachinabarhi was not like that. He was a very pious king, and still he was ignorant about the real core of religious principles. And then Narad Muni mercifully enlightened him on what is the actual purpose of human life. After having understood that, he did not wait for anything else anymore. He just gave up his kingly duties and took sannyas, or at least vanaprastha. Sannyas was usually taken by the Brahmanas. The Kshatriyas, they go until vanaprastha, like the Pandavas. So he went to the forest. He did not waste any more time. He did not think, oh, let my sons return and then I will go. No. He just left. Now one may consider that to be very irresponsible, but self-realization is more important than anything else. When King Parikshit came to know that he was going to be killed in 7 days by a curse, he did not make plans on how this kingdom would be run in the future or anything like that. He immediately left. He knew that he has 7 more days in life, and he was in the prime of his youth. And he was not an old man or anything like that. He was in the prime of his youth. And when he came to know that he has 7 days, he just left the kingdom and then went to the bank of the Ganga river. And there he heard from Shukadeva Goswami the Srimad Bhagavatam for 7 days and 7 nights without even sleeping, eating or drinking. And he attained perfection. His mind was wrapped in attention on Lord Krishna at the time of his passing away. And when asked whether he had anything more to know, he said, no, I am completely fearless now. Let that snake bird, which was the effect of the curse of the Brahmana boy, come and kill me. I am quite ready. So that is the Rajarshi. There is a difference between just Raja and Rajarshi. Rajarshi means he is Raja by occupation but Rishi by character. So Rishi, a sage, he is always for the welfare of the people. He takes care of the whole country like they are his children. But sometimes even one may have family, but still the person must leave the family, especially the male in the family. That is the Vedic culture. They're not supposed to be together all life until the end, 90, 100 years old and still with family. That's not Vedic culture. Because by such long association with family, one's mind will be so much attached to the family, and at the time of death it is extremely painful, and one's thoughts are fully absorbed in family, and because of that one will have to take birth again, and that is bad. So considering the future, so one must prepare in this life. One may have family, everybody has family, but one should not be too attached to it. The cause of misery in this world is attachment. Because if we are attached to something, when we lose that something, it will be the most painful. Therefore, the whole Vedic culture is centered around detachment from the material world. In the 4 stages of life, Brahmacharya, Grahastha, Vanaprastha and Sannyas, only in the Grahastha stage, for about 25-30 years, one is allowed to be with family. Before that, it is Brahmacharya. During student life, he is in the school, in the Gurukul, not like today's school, where they just go and come back home. No such thing. He is going to go to the Gurukul and not come back for 25 years, 20 years. When he is 5 years old, he will go. Kaumaram acharet prajna. So he goes at 5, and what does he learn in that school? Not how to earn money. By the time today, the end of education, like around maybe a degree or PhD or whatever it is, the person doesn't even know who he is. If you ask him who he is, he will say, I'm a man, or I'm a woman, I'm an Indian, I'm an American, I'm a Chinese, I'm a Japanese. That's exactly what we are not. That's the body. The body is not the soul. The body may be made in India or made in China, made in Japan, but the soul has nothing to do with the body. We are different from the body. That's why we say this is my body, my heart, my hand. Because if it is I who am the hand, who am the heart, who am the mind, then I will say I body. But we don't speak like that. We say my body, that means this body belongs to me. If I say this is my cloth, my dress, I mean I'm not the dress, of course. So if I say my body, my heart, my mind, who am I? So that's the first question we must ask. We don't think. Modern education doesn't teach us to actually think and to understand who we really are. And we think we are the body, and therefore when the body dies, we think we die, we think we are finished. And for those who are not so happy in present life, they think, oh, all these miseries is because of this life, so let me just end this life. So they commit suicide, they go into depression and they go into suicidal thoughts, and they actually commit suicide because of a wrong conception of life. They think suicide is a release from all this misery. No. One commits suicide, one becomes ghost. They don't know that there is life after this body, all because of a lack of education. But Gurukul system, Brahmacharya is not like this. He learns from 5 years old the science about Atma Tattva. Who am I? Who is God? Why did I take birth? Why was the creation made? The scientists, they explore the creation to whatever extent they can. They may find out here and there something, but they hardly know 0.00000 a million zeros and 1%. They hardly know anything about this universe. What to speak of the purpose behind the universe? They don't think that there is a purpose behind the universe. It's just something exploded and then everything came into existence. As I said many times, might as well we just detonate bombs and create, just like the universe was created, right? But it doesn't happen like that. How can you detonate a bomb and create something? You can destroy something by detonation. So this Big Bang theory is a foolish, nonsensical rascaldom because of atheism, because they don't accept the description of creation that is given in the scriptures. When was ever anything created out of an accident? When we create something like a table, there is so much, thinking, feeling and willing and so much artistry, there is so much personal supervision. And how can just a table, what to speak of the entire universe? Why do we think that there is no supervision behind this? This is foolishness. So Vedic culture means to be aware that there is a supreme intelligence, and that is God. God is not an impersonal, some power, some abstract thing. No. Just like the creator of this table is not an abstract something, and from something it just came out. There was purpose, there was deliberate action. So, it is a person who is behind all this. Now, we may not be qualified to see that person. That does not mean the person is not there. We have to qualify ourselves and we can see. And there are many people who can see God, without a doubt. But we have to qualify ourselves. Because if I say, oh, I did not see the Prime Minister of Singapore, so I don't believe there is a Prime Minister. But you qualify yourself to do something worthy, then you will receive an award from the Prime Minister or something, you will meet him, you will be, worthy of being on the same seat or the same stage as the Prime Minister, and then you can see him. If I don't do anything worthy, and I don't see because of my lack of qualification, and I come to the conclusion that there is no Prime Minister, then who is it? Is the Prime Minister going to suffer because of my opinion? No, that's not. So God is not going to suffer because of our, faulty opinions. He is a fact and he is going on. And the tongue with which, many times I say, the tongue with which an atheist says that there is no God was given by God. Who has manufactured his tongue? Not the mother, not the father. The mother bears the weight of the child in the womb. She has no idea when the brain is being developed, when are the hands being developed, when the heart and the digestive system, the nervous system, the bones, the capillaries, so many things are there in the body, we don't even know how it is created. He's just bearing the weight. Who is engineering everything inside? Oh, they say some XY chromosomes. Some coming together and just forming something. So this supervision is the Lord's supervision. So we have to accept that. So that is the Atma Tattvam, it is called. This is real knowledge. So in the schools of the Vedic culture, the Gurukul system, the child from 5 years old learns these things. Not only how the Lord created everything, but also who am I? I am a servant of Krishna. I should serve Krishna. Not like what people use God now. They go to God and ask this, ask that, ask this and ask that, and give a whole list of things that the God should do for them, as if He is their servant. Who is dāsa here? We are the dāsa. We are the servant of God. He is the master. The proper way to go to God is, how can I serve you, Krishna? Not how you can serve me. What can I get from you? Okay, I will break one coconut, you give me some promotion, you give me some bungalow, you give me some lottery. Yeah. So this is not religion. This is some crap in the name of religion. So that's what it has reduced to now. Religion means, it's an optional thing. You want to do it, you do it. Privately. It doesn't matter. It is not relevant. You just work, and that is the most important thing. And if you are religious for your personal life, that's fine. That is what it is reduced to now. It has no relevance. Why? Because there is no knowledge. People think religion means some faith and something abstract, something. For those who are weak-minded, especially the scientists, the doctors, those who are a little bit qualified, they are atheists. They become atheists for some reason. Mostly, I don't say everybody, but mostly. Because they are too puffed up, too proud of their little bit knowledge that they have. Become puffed up. And the scientists, mostly atheists, that there was a famous saying, that Stephen Hawking, physicist, in the wheelchair, he was there. So his condition is already so bad, physically. Now mentally he may be a genius. But actually, honestly, from a spiritual point of view, he is a fool. And he said there is no God. Now he is talking about the universe and interplanetary travel and all these things. People think, oh, he's very intelligent. But intelligence, that's not the measure of intelligence. Measure of intelligence means I should have the common sense that if I have created something with intelligence, why the whole universe, the creation of the universe has no intelligence behind it? If I can't even understand that, where is my intelligence? So people may say that he is intelligent. Who are they to qualify him? If I am qualified as a so-called physicist, where do I get my certificate from? The university, dean of the university, who is some qualified person, not some people on the street who don't know anything about the subject. So if people come together and say he is a great genius, what is the value of such qualification? In fact, Bhagavatam says, this is what the Bhagavatam says. Shvavid varahostra kharai samstutah purusha pashuh nayat karna pathopeto jatunama gadagrajaha. Men who are like dogs, hogs, camels and asses praise those men who never listen to the transcendental pastimes of Lord Sri Krishna, the deliverer from evils. So those who are not interested in Krishna, atheists, they will be glorified by people who are on the level of animals. So with the lack of God consciousness, Krishna consciousness, civilization is going down to the animals, going to the dogs literally. They are becoming like dogs. So Vedic culture means in the beginning, the foundational years of one's life, from 5 years old to about 25, he is trained as a Brahmacharyam. And he learns from the Guru, the proper, and also not just learns the science, this whole Vedic culture, but also learns character. Whether he is a king's son or a pauper's son, he has to be a slave of the Guru. Western ideology, what is this slave mentality? That's abuse, child abuse. No, the spiritual master does not abuse the child. But there has to be obedience. He actually, out of great kindness, he enlightens the child as he grows up into an adult. He enlightens him in everything. But the child, the student, must be submissive. And actually, acharan dasavan nicha. One will be like a slave to the spiritual master. Even if he is a prince, he has to. Even Krishna, when he became a so-called student of his guru, of course he doesn't need to be a student, but he showed example so that everybody else follows. And to satisfy his guru, he went to collect the firewood from the forest, although it was very, very stormy evening. He went with his friend Sudama, and they collected firewood, and they were trapped there in the rain. Of course, Krishna, how can someone trap Krishna? What is that? But he is showing how much one should surrender, however great one may be, how one should surrender to the guru. And the guru should be a proper guru, bona fide spiritual master. He should not be a rascal of the first order and then sit in position of guru. No. So he has to be qualified. That means he has to be a pure devotee of Krishna, and he should be completely conversant with all the knowledge, and should be in the topmost level of character. What is the qualification of guru? Vacho vegam manasa krodha vegam jihva vegam udaropastha vegam etan veganyo vishaheta dhira sarvam apimam prithivim sashishyat. A sober person who can tolerate the urge to speak, the mind's demands, the actions of anger, and the urges of the tongue, belly and genitals, is qualified to make disciples all over the world. One who has come to the point of tolerating all the urges, so he is qualified to make disciples all over the world. And only a person who is a devotee of Krishna can do this. It's not by artificial restraint that we can actually come to this position. It's not possible. To enjoy is the nature of the living entity. Anandamayo bhyasat. People think spiritual life means a lack of enjoyment. No. One enjoys way more than any materialist can ever imagine. But he enjoys not with his senses coming in touch with the sense objects. That's not his definition of happiness. His definition of happiness is how I can satisfy Krishna. And Krishna being the root of everything. Just like a root of the tree. If you water just the root, it goes to every single branch, twig, leaf, flower and fruit. One need not separately water every single leaf of the tree. No. However big the tree is, if just he waters the root, it will go everywhere. Similarly, people take up many kinds of service, altruistic, philanthropic services, or even customer service in business settings. But one can actually not serve everything and everyone unless one serves God, because He is the root. And he easily becomes happy by serving God. That is the secret of happiness. Krishna should become happy, and then automatically I will be happy. The whole world will become happy if they are connected to Krishna. So now, in that foundation, a brahmachari grows and understands. So even if he is a prince, he learns this, and humility is the basis of character, and that's why he has to serve the Guru as a humble servant. And then with that humility, all the character is built upon that foundation of humility. If there's no humility, if I'm a PhD holder, or if I'm something big time, and if I don't have humility, the whole world will condemn. Like now, there was some news of some famous actor, Hollywood, he slapped somebody on the stage. Right? Big news all over the world, everybody is talking about it. Condemning. Accomplished actor, so many awards. Why? No humility. So what happened? Condemn. Humility is the basis of character. So the prince, even if he's a prince, if he learns this, then when he becomes a king and rules over the citizens, he knows how to do it. And he is conversant with religious principles. Who is God? And he educates the entire population on that platform of what is God, who are we. So in that way, when one goes and becomes a king, that is called proper ruling. That is called proper administration. Administration, as we said, is not about just increasing the gross domestic product. What is that? GDP. Just increasing the income of the country or the people. That's not the real business of a king or a government. The government has to see to it that all economic problems, first of all, are solved, and that is possible by yajna process, not by this so-called adjustment of trade, what is that called? Manipulation of trade deals, striking some deals with import-export business and all this. No, this is not the way. And just practically rape the earth by drilling the hole and then taking out all the oil. And this is the whole thing, and everybody is fighting today for this oil. This is not the idea of economic growth. Economic growth means it has to be from the natural resources provided by God, Krishna. And therefore, this verse, Prabhupada quoted in the purport. So this is the answer to economic problems. The economic solution. Annad bhavanti bhutani parjanya adanna sambhavaha yajñād bhavati parjanyo yajñah karma samudbhavaha. All living bodies subsist on food grains which are produced from rains. Rains are produced by performance of sacrifice or yajna, and yajna is born of prescribed duties. And prescribed duties, where do they come from? Karma brahmodbhavam vidhi brahmakshara samudbhavam tasmat sarvagatam brahma nityam yajne pratishtitam. Regulated activities are prescribed in the Vedas, and the Vedas are directly manifested from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Consequently, the all-pervading transcendence is eternally situated in acts of sacrifice. So, annad, food grains, economic problem means basically artha. Dharma, artha, kama, moksha. Artha means wealth, generally. But artha means that which is necessary, that which has a purpose, meaning. So whatever is necessary for our subsistence, that much is artha. More than that is anartha. It is not required actually. So food, clothing, shelter, this is what we need. And an able government which can give protection to the citizens, and that's what we need. And when we say protection to the citizens, we will actually show what is the protection of the citizens. It is actually directly tied to today's verse. Because Prachitas came out from their meditation and saw the whole world just neglected, and the whole world became just forests, and trees were growing so tall that it completely covered the sunlight. That means humans have neglected their activities. Now, what is the protection of citizens means? Now, 2nd chapter, 32nd verse of Bhagavad Gita. In the purport, there is a verse quoted from Parashar Smriti. Just like there is Manusmriti, there is Parashar Smriti. Kshatriyo hi praja arakshan shastrapani pradandayan nirjitya parasainyadi kshitim dharmena palayet. Prajarakshan. This is called protection of the citizens by the king. So it is the duty of the Kshatriya. The Kshatriya's duty is to protect the citizens from all kinds of difficulties, and for that reason he has to apply violence in suitable cases for law and order. Therefore, he has to conquer the soldiers of inimical kings, and thus, with religious principles, he should rule over the world. Parashar Smriti, 1st chapter, 61st verse. Now, this protection, Prajaraksha, from all kinds of difficulties. There are two kinds of protection. One is the material protection. Internally within the kingdom, if there are thieves, dacoits and all these antisocial elements, they have to be punished. And if somebody has murdered someone, immediately he has to be killed. There is no consideration. Especially if he is an able person. Killed immediately. Because life for a life. If he is not killed in this life, next life he will be murdered. So for his own good, square up his sin in this life, go to the next life. So he has to be very, very strict, just like Parikshit Maharaj. When he saw that a dark-looking man who was a personality of Kali, he was trying to kill a cow. Immediately he took out his sword to kill that man. Then and there itself. That should be the king. King means like that. No waiting, not like in court going on for generations and generations still fighting away in the court. No, immediately you are killing the cow, take the sword, kill. That's it. Immediate justice. So that is internally. Even cows were protected. Animals were also protected. That is Prajarakshan. Praja. Prabhupada explained Praja means Ja means Janma. Ja stands for Janma. Praja means one who has taken Janma or birth in that land. And that includes not only the human but also the animals. Whoever has taken birth. So Prajarakshan. Kshatriyo hi Prajarakshan Shastrapani Pradandayam Nirjitya Parasainyad Kshitim Dharmena Palayet. So he has to protect like that. That is one protection within the kingdom. The police department actually does, at least supposed to do that. Externally, if somebody attacks for no reason, just attacks from another kingdom, invasion, then he has to protect by fighting against him and killing that king. He has to be extremely heroic to do that. Not this guerrilla warfare, hiding, some hiding behind trees and shooting something. Not like this. Face to face, let's be in open land, clear everything and fight. That is Kshatriya. And king, kill the other person. So that is material kind of protection. Now spiritually also he has to protect. Material protection is not the everything. Spiritually he has to protect, Prajarakshan. And that is explained by Veera Raghava Acharya in this verse, which is 429.81. Prachina barhi rajarshi praja sargabhirakshane. You see, praja sargabhirakshane. Adishya putran agamat tapase kapilashramam. In the presence of his ministers, the saintly king, Prachina Barhi, left orders for his sons to protect the citizens. He then left home and went off to undergo austerities in a holy place known as Kapilashram, which is near the Bengal, Bay of Bengal. Kapilashram. So he went there. And when he went, his sons, who were doing austerities in the ocean, they did not return yet to continue the government. But he left. Because he thought self-realization is way more important than anything else, he just left. And he just left the orders with the ministers to his sons, whatever, when they come, okay, this is what they should do, this is how they should. Praja sargabhirakshane, how the citizens should be protected. He gave all the instructions, he left the instruction and he left. Now in the purport, you see Prabhupada explains, the word Praja Sarga is very important in this verse. When the saintly king Prachina Barhi was induced by the great sage Narada to leave home and take to the devotional service of the Lord, his sons had not yet returned from their austerities in the water. However, he did not wait for their return but simply left messages to the effect that his sons were to protect the mass of citizens. According to Veera Raghava Acharya from Sri Sampradaya, actually, this Veera Raghava Acharya, Such protection means that prajabhirakshane, prajasargabhirakshane. What does that mean? Organizing the citizens into the specific divisions of the 4 varnas and 4 ashramas. That means varnashram system has to be introduced in human society so that everybody will be employed. Today's unemployment is because too many Shudras are being produced by education system, and there is Brahmanas full vacancy, Kshatriyas full vacancy, Vaishyas also full vacancy. Shudras only all produced. So, too much supply of Shudras but not enough posts. There is unemployment. They seek to solve the unemployment problem by creating more Shudra jobs. By creating meaningless jobs. But actually the real way of combating unemployment is to organize the society in Varnashram system. According to the quality, he has to be employed. If he has Brahmana tendencies, why he has to be trained as Shudra? If he has Shudra tendencies, why he has to be trained as maybe Vaishya or Kshatriya? No, he is not supposed to be there. And because of so many Shudras or Chandalas and Mlechas, Yavanas are there in the government, today everything is like this in the world. No qualification. Nobody is doing their qualified work. Everybody is doing this Shudra, and all Shudras are occupying everywhere. So that's why the world is like this. So according to Viraraghavacharya, you see how chaotic the world is now. Not just in the violence part, but misinformation, fake news. Everything is just horrible. God consciousness is forgotten. That's why the whole world is in the problem, but they don't even notice that. They don't even know what is the problem. So he says, Viraraghavacharya says, protection means organizing citizens into the specific divisions of the 4 varnas and 4 ashramas. It was the responsibility of the royal order to see that the citizens were following the regulatory principles of the 4 varnas, namely Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, and the ashramas, namely Brahmacharya, Grahastha, Vanaprastha and Sannyas. It is very difficult to rule citizens in a kingdom without organizing this Varnashram Dharma. It is true. If today, this so-called democracy, if one devotee goes and stands for elections and he puts his manifesto, party manifesto, I will take out meat eating and gambling, illicit intoxication, nobody will vote for him. Nobody. No, not interested. Get out, who are you, nonsense? Get out. Not a single vote he will get. Some 20 people who are sitting here will vote for him. That's it. Because the people do not know what is good for them. And if you ask them to choose the leader, that is a recipe for disaster. In a school, who chooses the teacher? The children? They don't know anything. How are they supposed to choose the teacher? Of course, they will choose a teacher who will not ask them to study, no homework, you will just go and play. That kind of teacher they will select. Who is a Buddhu of the first order, he will be selected by the children. Who will select? The school management, and the government also has some Ministry of Education. They will select the qualification, certification. They will have to select. That's why this democracy is a useless method. Monarchy is the perfect method, but qualified monarchy, not simply some rascals in the name of monarchs. That's why the monarchy was abolished. It was being abused. Now no more, almost nowhere you will see monarchy, save and except some few countries. And wherever it is there, it is a little bit troublesome. So, and honestly, people, they don't mind monarchy if the ruler is a saintly person. Nobody will oppose to that. In fact, they want that person to continue in power for as long as possible. Who will want to take out unless he is a rascal? But people are not confident. They will elect someone and then after some time they will condemn him. He did this, nonsense. And condemn him. So, because they are also not a first class character, they are also not trained, they don't know what is the aim of life. So, everything is chaotic because of a lack of varnashram. So, if you want to protect the citizens mentally and physically and spiritually, this varnashram system has to be introduced. To rule the mass of citizens in a state and keep them in a complete progressive order is not possible simply by passing laws every year in the legislative assembly. The Varnasrama Dharma is essential in a good government. One class of men, the Brahmanas, must be intelligent and Brahmanically qualified. Another class must be trained in administrative work, Kshatriya. Another in mercantile business, Vaishya. And another simply in labor, Shudra. These 4 classes of men are already there according to nature. But it is the government's duty to see that all 4 of these classes follow the principles of their varnas methodically. This is called abhirakshana or protection. So in this way, what happens? Thieves and rogues automatically will subside. Because why? Why do the thieves exist? Because sometimes they don't have means to earn a livelihood in an honest way. So they will go to doing these criminal activities. But if everybody is trained properly and the state is very strong, then these things won't happen. Everybody is having their livelihood settled. And people have time for self-realization also. That is the most important thing. Abhirakshana means not just Varnashram system means what? Ashram means what? Place where there is spiritual culture. So yes, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, fine. But what is the aim of all these occupation? Atah pumbir dvijashrestha varnashrama vibhagashaha svanushthitasya dharmasya samsiddhir haritoshanam. 1-2-30 in Srimad Bhagavatam. Oh, best among the twice born. It is therefore concluded that the highest perfection one can achieve by discharging the duties prescribed for one's own occupation and according to caste divisions and orders of life is to please the personality of Godhead. That is the real thing. How to please? You just employ them, that will not going to be enough. They have to be trained spiritually. For that, temples have to be constructed. Sufficient facilities have to be there for training. Brahmachari, Gurukul, where does he go? There has to be facility for that. And here in today's, and facility means not big facilities, with natural facilities we can do. Like today's purport, it is said. If you see today's purport, see very nicely Prabhupada is explaining. Human beings can inhabit any place on the surface of the earth by clearing jungles and converting land for agricultural purposes. People can keep cows and all economic problems can be solved in that way. One need only work to produce grains and take care of the cows. The wood found in the jungles may be used for constructing cottages. So facility, if you want facility, we don't have to have this huge construction projects with concrete and all this big machinery. Ugra karma, this is Ugra karma. It's not needed. With simple cottages this can be done actually. And wood is there. The clearing of jungles, that wood can be used for constructing cottages and all the construction work. It has to, that's why people did not have these skyscraper buildings in those days. Not that they could not build those things. Kardama Muni built a whole spaceship in which there were gardens, palaces, lakes, maidservants, and they were traveling on the spaceship all over the universe, going from one planet to another, like picnic, Husband, wife, they were going 100 years, they were roaming around, having a fine time. But before he created that airplane, where was he? He was in the forest. He was tattered cloth, torn cloth he was wearing before he got married. Even after marriage also. Wife was a princess, but after marrying she was serving him like a maidservant in the forest. How much surrender that is for a woman. Then finally he saw her. Oh, she has worked so hard for helping me in my spiritual journey. Okay, let me give her some comfort. Then what did he do? He created from his magic, from his yogic power, like magic, he created one aeroplane which can go to all parts of the universe. And not like sitting in a seat, first class seat, just familiar like this only. Economy like this, business like this, first class like this. And you have to pay tens of thousands of dollars for this first class seat. And just maybe that reclining, you can recline a little bit like this, sleep. No. You can do whatever you want. There are palaces, there are gardens, there is lakes, there is waterfalls, beautiful. Inside the plane. And no sound. No jet engine, fuel, shortage problems, nothing like that. Just like this Pushpaka Vimana, of Kuvera, this Ravana, he stole. No sound, just by mantra. We have done, I think, one Instagram live Tattvadarshan show back, I think, last year. Yantra versus mantra. So in that, we have explained this part that now they move by yantra, machine. But Vedic culture of transport was by mantra. Just by chanting mantra they can go. Without any vimana, without any aeroplane also they can go. Like Narad Muni, he will go wherever he wants. So, that is the Vedic culture. So they were not incapable of doing these things. But why unnecessary work when things can be done simply? Why complicate things in the name of advancement? Nowadays advancement means complicate things. The other day one devotee, he works in a bank. He was explaining to me about financial world. He was explaining cash. Why cash? Originally it was tied to gold, and it is actually instead of gold they do this cash. Then after that it stopped being tied to gold. It was just speculation. Then it started to lose meaning. And then they have stocks, they have shares, they have options, they have futures. Speculation has so much complications. Why? You just need food, na? Food you need only. Eat some chapati only. Why big and to understand those things you have to waste so many years of your life. What we have created, we are also so confusing. We have to spend a few years to understand what this is all about, what we have created. That's why there is no need of this education. This is a stupid education system. We have created something complicated to get something simple, food. And to understand that complicated mess, we have to undergo education system so that we understand this complicated mess, so that we can get food. So the animals are intelligent. They are thinking, why this all complication? Just find food. They're just hunting. A lion is just going, catch something and eat. Cow is eating grass. Why all this complication to come back to this food? So this is foolishness. So here you see nicely the economic problems are all solved. Infrastructure problems solved. Oh, how? If there are no roads, how? There are horses. Horses are there, donkeys are there. For cheaper transport, donkeys are there. Or horses, chariot. They can be taxi like that. Go around. And why there is need to travel? What are you going to do traveling? First of all, question is not how to travel, but why to travel first of all. What is the big thing you are doing? Only sannyasis used to travel. And the spies in a kingdom, the espionage, they used to travel to other kingdoms, to get some kind of information from the others. And some trade like that. Merchants used to travel. But otherwise, what is the need? There were also ships. There were also land transport by animals. And there is nowadays they say, eco-friendly, green. What is green there? I have made a small TikTok video on this. 50 Shades of Grey. That's actually some stupid movie. But I just took the title from there. It is like this. If I am saying, this is environmentally friendly bus because I am running on battery. Actually it's not true, because the electricity, where you got it from? Some burning some fossil fuels or coal somewhere. It is just a displaced pollution. Instead of the smoke coming out from the vehicle, smoke is coming out somewhere else. That's all. It is just displaced. That's all. Pollution. Because the electricity is not gotten by so-called solar or wind so much. Vast majority is still coal, 95%. Coal and fossil fuels and like that. So, when we say environmentally friendly, it's not friendly, it is less harmful, maybe you can say like that. It is still harmful only. It is not green, it is still grey. Maybe from black you have come to lighter shade of grey, that's all. Different shades of grey, that's all. So, but real green means animals, horses, elephants, carriages, like this. And no accident, they will never go an accident, no accident problems those days. Why horse and horse will come and bang into each other? They have eyes, they can see. The charioteer, even if he misses, the horse will not miss. So in this way everything can be done. Now there was metal also, yes, there was ore and everything, mining was going on, yes. That is also necessary, to the point that it is necessary, not more than that. So here Prabhupada is explaining why the Prachitas were angry. When they came out of their meditation, they were supposed to take over the government which their father left. But when they came out, the whole world was covered with trees. And not just small trees, huge trees. The whole thing was forests. And they were angry because of such neglect. Why they were angry at trees? Actually later you will see they burned the trees with their eyesight. You may think, that is violence. But the whole purpose of creation is not for trees to inhabit only. The whole purpose is God consciousness. And only humans can do that. Even for the trees to advance in spiritual life, the humans have to be there, take the flower or fruit and offer to Krishna, or vegetable and offer to Krishna. So the whole thing, we have to be natural, just be it like tribals and then kill in the forest. No, that is not the idea. It has to be organized, yajnic process. And agriculture is to be done. What is the difference between agriculture and forestry? When you say culture, whether it is agriculture or any culture, culture means you want a definite outcome. A farmer, he sows maybe tomato seeds to get tomato. His focus is that. He has an end goal in mind. I have to get this much tons of tomato. No other vegetable, tomato. That is culture. Culture means there is an aim and you work towards that. Everything is done to achieve that aim. Culture is not simply some dance and some music and all. What was the aim of all those music or dance or all these things? That is culture. If the aim is lost, just these externals are not culture. They have to serve a purpose, then only is a culture. So agriculture means a certain crop is produced. Forest means there is no culture. Anything goes. Tomato can grow, potato can grow, and poisonous trees can grow, everything can grow. That is forest. So if the land was full of forests like that, that means the mindset of people also was like that. There is no culture. There was no purpose in the civilization, and that's why they were angry. Everything was neglected. Neglected means God consciousness was missing. And everybody just, became carefree. No organized structure of human society. Humans are like the big brothers of every other species that are living on this planet. They have to take care of the rest. And even if the trees are killed, clearing a forest means so many trees have to be killed. Now that may be violence, but that is necessary violence. And the wood of the tree being used for spiritual purposes, like cottages for the sages, gurukuls, construction. All construction projects can happen with wood. Like that one can do. And mud, wood, mud and this straw, it can be done. And if it is done like that, then the whole, because the wood is from the tree and that is used for service, the tree also will gain. And agriculture, proper organized food production. And then Prabhupada says something important here. You see, it is not a fact. This is a very important sentence, because just few days ago I was just watching some videos on how to do reforestation. Because Prabhupada said there is enough land in this world to feed 10 times the world's population. And when he said that, the population of the world was about like 3.5 billion or something like that. 10 times and 30 billion. Even if we calculate in present, 30 billion, now it is what, only 8 billion. 3 times of the world population increases. There is enough, 3 or 4 times, enough land. So I was thinking, where is the land being used and how it is being used? So of course so much nonsensical use is going on. But other than that, there are deserts which are completely left. So I was just thinking, how, if those deserts are back in, proper, if everything comes back, vegetation comes back, then so much more can be produced for the population. So I was just, thinking for a while. And I just typed reforestation, and some videos came, and how they started to diminish some of the desert land in some areas of the world, in Africa and all like that. They started to grow some land and all that, and then they're trying to attract rain by that. In the meantime, irrigating it with artificially, putting the pipes and irrigating like that. Now here, Prabhupada makes an important point. It is not a fact that jungles and trees attract clouds and rain, because we find rainfall over the sea. There is rainfall over the sea. So there is no trees there. See, human beings, so the answer is, as far as rain is concerned, it is the performance of yajna that attracts rain. Now again the same question may be asked, what about the sea? Where there is yajna in the sea? Right? So, there is actually a purpose of rains even on the sea. Like pearls and all these things, they are formed by, it is explained, that if the rain falls at a certain astrological time, and it mixed with, this, I don't know what, Prabhupada gave an explanation. It can become pearls. And also minerals. In the mountains, the forests are there, rains. So minerals and all these things are produced. In fact, there is a nice verse by Kunti Devi. See? I think 1838. No, 1840. इमे जनपदाः स्पृद्धाः सुपक्वौषधिविरुधः वनाद्रिनद्युदन्मन्तो हि एधन्ते तव वीक्षितैः. All these cities and villages are flourishing in all respects. Kunti Devi is saying to Krishna, are flourishing in all respects because the herbs and grains are in abundance. The trees are full of fruits, the rivers are flowing, the hills are full of minerals, and the oceans are full of wealth. And this is all due to your glancing over them. Oceans are full of wealth. What wealth? Nowadays wealth means oil. But there is a pearl, so much wealth is there. And I think human prosperity flourishes by natural gifts and not by gigantic industrial enterprises. The gigantic industrial enterprises are products of a godless civilization, and they cause the destruction of the noble aims of human life. The more we go on increasing such troublesome industries to squeeze out the vital energy of the human being, the more there will be unrest and dissatisfaction of the people in general, although a few only can live lavishly by exploitation. The natural gifts such as grains and vegetables, fruits, rivers, the hills full of jewels and minerals, and the seas full of pearls are supplied by the order of the Supreme, and as He desires, material nature produces them in abundance or restricts them at times. So you see, the natural law is that the human being may take advantage of these godly gifts of nature and satisfactorily flourish on them without being captivated by the exploitative motive of lording it over material nature. The more we attempt to exploit material nature according to our whims of enjoyment, the more we shall become entrapped by the reaction of such exploitative attempts. If we have sufficient grains, fruits, vegetables and herbs, then what is the necessity of running a slaughterhouse and killing poor animals? A man need not kill an animal if he has sufficient grains and vegetables to eat. The flow of river water fertilizes the fields, and there is more than what we need. You see, the rivers, if they flow, they will automatically cause so much vegetation. Nowadays they are damming up the rivers for so-called electricity. So this is all godless, solutions, which are actually causes of more problems. If the human civilization has sufficient grains, minerals, jewels, water, milk, etc., why should it hanker after terrible industrial enterprises at the cost of the labor of some unfortunate men? But all these natural gifts are dependent on the mercy of the Lord. What we need, therefore, is to be obedient to the laws of the Lord and achieve the perfection of human life by devotional service. The indications by Kunti Devi are just to the point. She desires that God's mercy be bestowed upon them so that natural prosperity be maintained by His grace. Now, there is a nice verse in the 7th canto. Let's see, 7.1.9, I think. 10. Or is it 8? No, not this. 729, is it? 727. Let me see. Not this. No, there is a verse 8.1.9. There is a verse in the 7th canto, I am forgetting where it is, that all the natural gifts, the natural supplies from the Lord, we have to use that. That is enough for our sustenance. So like that there is a verse. I think, let me just try another wild guess. Okay, this is another. Even if he is a householder rather than a brahmachari, a sannyasi or a vanaprastha, one should not endeavor very hard for religiosity, economic development or satisfaction of the senses. Even in householder life, one should be satisfied to maintain body and soul together with whatever is available with minimum endeavor according to place and time by the grace of the Lord. One should not engage oneself in ugra karma, that means horrible work. What is horrible work? 7.14.7, huh? So ugra karma means so much work that you don't have time for your own spiritual life. 7.14.7. So just few verses before this. Divyam bhaumam chantariksham vittam achyuta nirmitam tatsarvam upayunjana etat kuryat svato buddha. Achyuta nirmitam, this is very important. This is allotted to us by Achyuta, by the Lord. What is that? Divyam bhaumam cha antariksham. See, divyam, easily obtained because of rainfall from the sky. Bhaumam, obtained from the mines and the sea. Cha antariksham, obtained by chance. Antariksham. Vittam, all property, Achyuta Nirminam, created by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Tat Sarvam Upayunjana Kuryat Svato Buddha. Sarvam Upayunjana. The natural products created by the Supreme Personality of Godhead should be utilized to maintain the bodies and souls of all living entities. The necessities of life are of three types. Those produced from the sky, from rainfall, from the earth, that means from the mines and the seas or the fields, and from the atmosphere, that which is obtained suddenly and unexpectedly. So these things are sufficient for our sustenance. No need to artificially hoard something else at the cost of everything else, at the cost of our spiritual and material lives and livelihoods. So, and nowadays they want to experiment with some viruses in labs. What business you have to go into the caves to catch some bats which are isolated somewhere in the forest? You know, going there and catching the bats and putting syringe and taking out something from there and culturing those viruses. What is the brain? Where is the brain? And now the whole world, you see, this is the work of asuras. Biolabs. This is not a naturally occurring virus. It is a constructed virus. All bioengineering. Big doctors, big qualified scientists. What they are doing? Going to caves, collecting bats and taking out virus and troubling the whole world. This is their scientific advancement. Rascals of the first order. Rascals, that's all. Prabhupada used the word always correctly. They deserve. So, this is the sum and substance of this verse, today's verse, where the Prachitas, when they came out, immediately they took to the task of protecting the citizens. First they cleared up the forests. From their mystic power, with their eyes they burnt the trees, first of all, and cleared up the land. And then agriculture, all this started again, everything. So that we will see in the later lesson. So they were angry. They just saw the Lord and came out. How come they are angry? Just saw the Lord, just took darshan of the Lord and then they came out, became angry. What kind of sadhu, you may ask? They were angry because human society is in a mess, not for their own. If the trees are there, why it is troubling them? They were not angry because why trees are blocking my way. They are in the ocean first of all this while. That is even more difficult than trees, right? Why they are angry at trees now? No, they are angry because there was a negligence on the part of human society. So that is a proper ruler. If there is negligence, he must become angry, Kshatriya. Just like Parishit. Killing cow, okay, took out sword. That is proper Kshatriya. They must be angry with mismanagement. They must be angry at lack of God consciousness. And they have to rectify the situation. Not just being angry and then making the situation worse. That kind of anger is useless. They have to channel the anger also properly. So that everything comes to the betterment of human society. So, devotees also, that is the nature of devotees. When everything is neglected, devotees feel frustrated looking at the world affairs, become angry. But what can we do with just anger? We have to properly direct such energy to proper re-spiritualization of human society. That's why Prabhupada said, I want to start a revolution. Prabhupada said. And he started actually. So that our revolution is by educating the people about what is actually life. What is the purpose? Teaching them about Krishna consciousness. And once the population is educated, then everything will follow. So a devotee, if he is comfortable seeing the world affairs as they are, he is not a devotee. If he is not feeling a sense of frustration by looking at the people and then everybody just lost, and if a devotee does not feel pain from that, and if he doesn't feel an impulse to preach, and he's not a devotee. A devotee means he must feel for the pains of others, and he must know also how to mitigate their pains by Krishna consciousness. If we don't have that feeling, then we have not understood ourselves what is Krishna consciousness. If I really understand Krishna consciousness, how can I see other people not be Krishna conscious and be happy with it? I can't be. So that's why second class, one should come to second class platform at least. Then one knows what is good and what is bad, what is correct, what is wrong, and where to engage one's energy and how to deal with different kinds of people and elevate everybody God conscious. And ourselves seek the association of advanced devotees so that we can ourselves advance in God consciousness, Krishna consciousness. Second class devotee we must come to. If Prachitas were, they were Mahabhagavat already, they saw the Lord. Why they became angry? They came to second class level in order for the welfare of the world. Their anger was for the welfare of the world, not meaningless anger. Prithu Maharaj also became angry with Mother Earth like that. So anyway, so these things are there. So any questions or comments on this topic?
Prachitas then try to kill, basically destroy those trees. Then I think moon came to save them, or some people came to save them. Does it mean that he was killing the people who were not? Prachitas was killing the people who were not obedient?
I myself forgot the description of later on. After the burning of the trees, what else happened? I myself forgot. Brahma. So they must have, when the zeal, overzealous, I think they overdid it a little bit. Stop. Okay, relax.
In the Varnasrama, when men were going to Gurukul, what was woman? Where was woman going? Nowhere.
Women was in the house. Girls were in the house.
They were
trained by their mother how to become chaste, how to do all the household duties, so that when they marry, they have to assist the husband who is, coming from that Gurukul, and then they have to assist in all the household duties. That was the training for the girls. There was no Gurukul for girls. Yeah, they are actually expert in religious affairs. They actually know also spiritual knowledge. I think that verse is there. Satya Samhita. Brahmadya Yajñavalkyaadya muchyante stri sahayinah bodhyante kechanaitesham vishesham cha vido viduh. Sometimes it is found that among exalted personalities like Lord Brahma, that the wife and children are not a cause of bondage. On the contrary, the wife actually helps further spiritual life and liberation. Nonetheless, most people are bound by the knots of marital relationships, and consequently they forget their relationship with Krishna. Now, in this part, 7, 11, 28, I think. Santushtalolupadakshad dharmagnya priyasatyavak apramatta shuchi snigdha patim tvapatitam bhajet. You see here, a chaste woman should not be greedy but satisfied in all circumstances. She must be very expert in handling household affairs and should be fully conversant with religious principles. It's not that she doesn't know. She is trained. In the household setting, she is trained. Everything. She should speak pleasingly and truthfully and should be very careful and always clean and pure. Thus, a chaste woman should engage with affection in the service of a husband who is not fallen. The husband also should be qualified. That's why when they come out of this Gurukul system, they will automatically be qualified men. Not like idiots, come out of some modern schools. So, so then the combination will be proper. So that is the training for women. And they don't have Brahmacharya or Vanaprastha. Vanaprastha they may have. They may go with the husband, but no sannyas. Their contribution in society is different. But all for the furthering of Krishna consciousness. Anything else?
Prabhu, how can we say that other living entities doesn't have God consciousness or Krishna consciousness?
How can we say?
Let's say like in Gajendra Moksham, elephant able to become his past life, right? And in Ramayana, he also.
So, what is the question? How to know that other living entities other than human beings are not God conscious? There is one thing that Srila Prabhupada says, that the Lord incarnates in every species. That is one thing. But even if He incarnates in every species, it's not that, especially if the human form of life is meant for God consciousness, and that is because the Shastras say. Now, there are special cases where if you see the background of these so-called animals, they're actually some, like Gajendra was a king, like that. Even the Vanaras, they are not ordinary Vanaras, ordinary monkeys. They were actually from the Kim Purusha Loka. They were actually advanced human beings, higher than human beings in fact. So such living entities are not ordinary. But Prahlad Maharaj says, you see, even everywhere in the Bhagavatam it is there. What is that? Let's take this one. Actually, let's go to 11.9.28. You see here. सृष्ट्वा पुराणि विविधान्य जयात्म शक्त्या वृक्षान् सरीसृप पशून् खगदन्दशूकान् तैस्तैरतुष्ट हृदय पुरुषं विधाय ब्रह्मावलोकधिषणं मुदमापदेव अतृप्त हृदय. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, expanding His own potency Maya Shakti, created innumerable species of life to house the conditioned souls. Yet, by creating the forms of trees, reptiles, animals, birds, snakes and so on, the Lord was not satisfied within His heart. Then He created human life, which offers the conditioned soul sufficient intelligence to perceive the absolute truth, and became pleased. See here, the Lord Himself was not satisfied with all the other creation, because they don't have the intelligence. Like even in Bharat Maharaj, he became a deer and he remembered, but again he was a human being. In the human body he did not complete, and Krishna gave him the remembrance. And therefore the next verse is there, 11.9.29. Labdhva sudurlabhamidam bahusambhavante manushyamathadamanityamapiha dhira turnam yateta napateta numrityu yavan nishreyasaya vishaya khalu sarvatasyat. After many births and deaths, one achieves the rare human form of life, which although temporary affords one the opportunity to attain the highest perfection. Thus, a sober human being should quickly endeavor for the ultimate perfection of life, as long as his body, which is always subject to death, has not fallen down and died. After all, sense gratification is available even in the most abominable species of life, whereas Krishna consciousness is possible only for a human being. And there is this other verse also, Ahara Nidra Bhayamaithunam cha Samanyametat Pashubhir Narana Dharmo hi tesham adhiko vishesho dharmena hina pashubhir samana. Eating, sleeping, mating, defending are common among humans and animals, but the thing that distinguishes humans from animals is dharma. Dharmo hi tesham adhiko vishesho dharmena hina pashubhir samana. Even if human life there is no dharma, it is already chaotic. What to speak of animal life, where there is no idea of dharma? In human life itself, when dharma is not being followed, it is already chaotic. How can the animals have dharma? They don't worship. Unless it is very extraordinary special cases of some soul falling down to the animal because of whatever reason.
How is the next birth for animal decided? Because animal does not have any
Oh, for animal. The next birth for animal means it is just progressive next higher birth. The animals they don't commit any act which is wrong. There is no karma for them, in the sense that whatever they do is not judged by karma. That means whatever they are suffering, is because of some human life they took before. So when we say karma, whatever we are doing now, it will affect our next life. No, it will affect our next millions of lives. If I become a dog in my next life, then I will suffer as a dog. Then after the dog, I will take the next higher species, next higher. There are 8.4, right? Million. I will go the next higher. If I become a fish, then I will climb all the way until human form again. And 8 million forms I have to go step by step. So if you see, some dogs are enjoying, some dogs are suffering, right? Some dogs are pets, maybe not so much in suffering. Some dogs are suffering, fighting in the street and then getting bitten off and leg broken and ear came out. Why they are there? And even in lion, supposed to be king of the jungle, sometimes these lions, they get into fights. When the lions, especially the males, they get into these fights, it's just horrible. There are some videos on the internet. I mean, the lions, they're just brutal when they fight among each other. The backbone is completely broken. Full young lion, full strong lion, fighting and the backbone just broke with one hit of the other lion. And then the intestines all were like hanging out. Why they are suffering? What karma did they do? That means in human life what suffering they did, that is carrying forward. You see, that is stated here in this. Okay. You see, a person who in the human form of life is not God conscious, Krishna conscious, right? So this is what happens to him. We'll just read the translations. You see, he is taken to hell. So, the person who is only doing sense gratification whole life, in human life, this is what happens. As a criminal is arrested for punishment by the constables of the state, a person engaged in criminal sense gratification is similarly arrested by the Yamadutas, who bind him by the neck with rope, strong rope, and cover his subtle body so that he may undergo severe punishment. Then he goes into all these punishments. While carried by the constables of Yamaraj, he is overwhelmed and trembles in their hands. While passing on the road, he is bitten by dogs and he can remember the sinful activities of his life. He is thus terribly distressed. Then, under the scorching sun, the criminal has to pass through roads of hot sand with forest fires on both sides. He is whipped on the back by the constables because of his inability to walk, and he is afflicted by hunger and thirst. But unfortunately, there is no drinking water, no shelter, and no place for rest on the road. While passing on the road to the abode of Yamaraj, he falls down in fatigue and sometimes he becomes unconscious, but he is forced to rise again. In this way, he is very quickly brought into the presence of Yamaraj. Thus, he has to pass 99,000 yojanas. Yojana means 8 miles. 99,000, that means 792,000 miles within 2 or 3 moments. And then he is at once engaged in the torturous punishment which he is destined to suffer. He goes to hell first. He is placed in the midst of burning pieces of wood and his limbs are set on fire. In some cases, he is made to eat his own flesh or have it eaten by others. His entrails, that means his intestines, are pulled out by the hounds and vultures of hell, even though he is still alive to see it, and he is subjected to torment by serpents, scorpions, gnats, and other creatures that bite him. Next, his limbs are lopped off and torn asunder by elephants. He is hurled down from hilltops, and he is also held captive either in water or in a cave, but he does not die. He is made to feel the pain, but he will not die. Men and women whose lives were built upon indulgence in illicit sex life are put into many kinds of miserable conditions in the hells known as Tamisra, Andhatamisra and Raurava. My dear mother, it is sometimes said that we experience hell or heaven on this planet, for hellish punishments are sometimes visible on this planet also. After leaving this body, the man who maintained himself and his family members by sinful activities suffers a hellish life, and his relatives suffer also. Everybody is thinking when they die, oh, my father, my grandfather, Swarga Prapti ho gaya, Swarga Prapti ho gaya. Don't know Swarga Prapti or Narga Prapti ho gaya. Without Krishna consciousness, what Swarga Prapti ho gaya? Simply having some imagination that my father went to heaven, my mother went to heaven. So what dharma they did in their life? If they did dharma, yes. Nothing done, Swarga Prapti.
So for the sins people do here, if they get punishment here, then they will still get the punishment in the hell.
Wait, let me finish this. He goes alone to the darkest regions of hell after quitting the present body, and the money he acquired by envying other living entities is the passage money with which he leaves this world. Then, thus by the arrangement of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the maintainer of kinsmen is put into a hellish condition to suffer for his sinful activities like a man who has lost his wealth. Therefore, a person who is very eager to maintain his family and kinsmen simply by black methods certainly goes to the darkest region of hell, which is known as Anantatamisa. Black method means not in the eyes of the state, but in the eyes of Krishna, in the eyes of scripture. In this state, to sell meat is not a black thing, it is a correct, good business. But according to Krishna, it is completely black method, by envying other living entities or anything to support all these sinful activities. Then, having gone through, this is what I want to show, having gone through all the miserable hellish conditions and having passed in a regular order through the lowest forms of animal life prior to human birth, and having thus been purged of his sins, one is reborn again as a human being on this earth. So in regular order we must go to all the insects, reptiles, birds, beasts, and finally we come to human life. And again we do mistake, millions of years again in the cycle again. So what this we are doing in this one lifetime will cause repercussions of millions of years, not just the next life. Because the animals don't have karma. The only reason why they are suffering is because of the things they did in human life. How far, you see, the karma is affecting. So that's like that. What is the other thing you are saying? Forgot.
Punishment. Yes, punishment. So if somebody has got a punishment here by the state law, do you think he will get the punishment again in the Himalayan?
The thing is, has he received, did he receive sufficient punishment for all his sins? Maybe if one sin is punished, what about the rest of them? So, we don't even know how subtly it is working, how much sins we are doing, we don't even know. So, we may be punished for one thing, but how many things we are doing? So, as long as the only way one can actually be saved from all this, sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami masucha. So, only if you are devotee, then whatever accidentally sins we may commit, that is all nullified by Krishna. Otherwise, we have to pay very dearly. Anything else? I think that's all. Varnasrama Dharma की, श्री प्रभुपाद की, गौर प्रेमानंद।